Welcome to video number 4 for Chapter 34, Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the Shadow of War. On June 22, 1941, Hitler attacked Russia because ever since the signing of the Non-Aggression Pact, neither Stalin nor Hitler had trusted each other, and both had been plotting to double-cross each other. Hitler assumed his invincible troops would crush the inferior Soviet soldiers, but the valor of the Red Army, in U.S. aid to the USSR through the Lend-Lease program, and an early and bitter winter stranded the German force at Moscow and shifted the tide against Germany. The Atlantic Conference was held in August 1941, and the result was the 8-point Atlantic Charter, which was suggestive of Woodrow Wilson's 14 points. The main points of the Atlantic Charter included that there would be no territorial changes contrary to the wishes of the people who lived there, the natives. The Charter also affirmed the right for people to choose their rulers, or the right of self-determination. And it declared disarmament and a peace of security, as well as creation of a new League of Nations. The critics charged that a neutral America was interfering, really ignoring the fact that America was no longer neutral. To ensure that arms sent to Britain would reach them, FDR finally agreed that a convoy would have to escort them, but only as far as Iceland, and then Britain would take over from there. There were clashes, as U.S. destroyers like the Greer, the Kearney, the Reuben James were all attacked by the Germans. After the Greer was fired upon, the Kearney was crippled, and the Reuben James was sunk, Congress allowed the arming of United States merchant vessels. By mid-November 1941, Congress annulled the now useless Neutrality Act of 1939. Japan was still embroiled in a war with China. When America suddenly imposed embargoes on key supplies in Japan in 1940, the imperialistic nation had now no choice but to either back off from China or attack the United States, and they chose to attack the United States. The Americans had broken the Japanese code, and they knew that they would declare war soon, but the U.S. could not attack. Based on what the Japanese supposedly planned, most Americans thought that the Japanese would attack British Malaysia or the Philippines. However, the paralyzing blow struck Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Japanese air bombers suddenly attacked the naval base located there, where almost the entire U.S. fleet was located, wiping out many ships and killing or wounding 3,000 men. The next day, the one after what was called a date which will live in infamy by FDR in his response speech, the United States declared war on Japan, and on December 11, 1941, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States. Up until the day of the Pearl Harbor attack, most Americans still wanted to stay out of war. Afterwards, the event sparked such passion that it completely infuriated Americans into wanting to go to war. This had been a long time in coming, as the U.S. had wanted to stay out of war, but had still supported Britain more and more and more, moving from an embargo policy to a cash-and-carry policy, and then finally to the Lend-Lease policy. The U.S. had been against the Japanese aggression, but had failed to take a firm stand on either side. Finally, people decided that appeasement didn't work against iron wolves, and that only full war was needed to keep the world safe for democracy against anarchy and dictatorship. And that's where we'll leave off, and we'll discuss more about the Pearl Harbor attack and the change in American intervention going into World War II in our classroom discussions. This is the works cited page. All the images used in this presentation are from the public domain.